Good afternoon, everyone. It's community meeting time, August 16th, 2022. I am presenting to you from the lovely crematorium in Tillamook, where I am on the side of the road waiting for a tow truck. So that is my situation at the moment. I hope everyone understands the dedication that I have for everyone. Anyways, we should have a good meeting for you today. We've got the normal rules still apply. We want to make sure that annotations are turned off, cameras are optional. Please ask questions anytime during chat or audio. Introduce yourself if you like. Oh, by the way, I'm Nate Boot. I'm a developer advocate for the OpenSearch project. And of course, disruptive folks will be removed from the meeting as they should. Profiles will only show names. Only hosts or co-hosts can share the screen. Additional co-hosts will be available to make sure that we don't have any disruptors, and passcodes are now required to join the meeting. And that's wonderful. Thanks everyone for joining. We got a couple announcements for everyone. The OpenSearch 2.2 released on August 11th, which was an exciting release. I'm really happy to see it come out.
If I may, Nate, this is Chris Migrating, Community Manager. We'd love to understand if anyone's downloaded it yet, maybe either now or during the Q&A section at the very end of this session. We'd love to see if you've downloaded it, what your plans are for downloading it. If you've given it a whirl. Cole, looks like you have in the chat. Thank you very much for that. So just interested in feedback on that. If you want to put it in chat, or if you want to introduce yourself and add your voice to the conversation. Our development team would love to hear your feedback on it. That said, go ahead, Nate.
Thanks, Chris. That is important feedback for us. That's something we try to do here to make sure we get a good heads up on what's new and what's changed. So I do suggest that for anyone who's curious. Graylog Go is coming up on September 14th, which is a conference. That one's in Houston, Texas, right, Chris?
It is. It is.
Houston, Texas. So that will be taking place there. We have a speaking spot there. I'll be showing up, I'm pretty sure. So You'll get to see my smiling face on stage.
We're still determining who's, yeah.
Potentially. Anyway, we have two really good presentations for you today. I believe we've got one from Vacha about all of our OpenSearch clients.
There we are. Drag and drop visualizations.
Oh yeah, the drag and
drop feature with Ashwin.
That's why it didn't stick. Yeah. So this one, I guess, isn't quite enabled just yet in 2.2. So we're hoping to get some feedback on that from everyone, because that to me, that's a really awesome feature, that drag and drop that just takes all the stink out of visualizations. So I'm excited to see that. I hope everyone else is too.
Vacha, if you're ready to present, go ahead and start.
Yes, thank you so much. Let me just share my screen. Awesome. Thank you so much for the introduction. Hi, everyone. I'm Vacha, and I work on the clients team for OpenSearch. And today I'm going to be presenting about OpenSearch clients, as the name suggests. Before we dive into the presentation, this is the agenda of what we'll be talking about today. Just in general of what clients are, an overview into the client's landscape, and what is the vision for the future. Okay, so what are clients? Clients make it super easy to interact with OpenSearch clusters in various programming languages and frameworks. So instead of using HTTP methods and raw JSON, you can use the high-level methods available in the clients to do things like create an index or create a document. So currently we have about 9 language clients available. And not all clients are actually language clients. So we are also discussing about framework clients like Spring Data, So this is the current list of all the available clients in the area of language clients. Okay, so now let's talk about the challenges that are there in the client landscape. So one of the challenges is that every time a new version of OpenSearch releases and it has a new API, we need a client that supports that API. Now, moving to the next challenge, that if you want to upgrade a server, then you would want to upgrade the client first to a version that support the next and the current version of the server, and then upgrade the server so that you avoid any kind of downtime during the upgrade. Also, clients should be maintainable with GitHub workflows like auto backport, DCO checks, link checkers, and so on. Clients should have support for all APIs, meaning for both core OpenSearch and plugin APIs. For example, if you want to create an alert, you can use the alerting APIs in the clients to do that with the OpenSearch cluster. And last but not the least, there are not enough people engaged in clients, and there's a lot of work to be done in the client area. So these are the challenges that we have right now for the client landscape. And talking about a lot of work that needs to be done for clients, we have also done a lot of work till now for clients. For example, all release clients currently support OpenSearch 1.0. All release clients except .NET also support OpenSearch 2.0. We have full CI/CD, including integration testing against 1.0 and 2.0. There is documented compatibility matrix. There are workflows like auto backport, link checker, and basic documentation for clients, which we had to write from scratch. There's also progress on inclusive naming and features like AWS SIG-v4 support and etc. And currently we have 4 non-Amazon maintainers and a dozen active contributors, and definitely looking for more. So these are all the things that are done. And now moving on to the things that are not done yet. So this is just a list, a rather long list of things to be done. And this is just what we know of. Things like promoting one-click releases, support for all plugin APIs, as mentioned earlier, comprehensive documentation for clients, which would enable people to use clients very easily with all the APIs. Auto generation of the uninteresting parts from specs, so auto generating all the boilerplate code for clients, improving and increasing test coverage across all the clients, adding availability and scalability features like load balancing, compatibility of clients with at least 2 major versions of OpenSearch, CVE scanning, Dependabot, and things like that. And this is, as I said, just a list of things that we know of, and we would like to hear what else you would like to see in a client or in any particular client that you would be interested in. So that brings us to contributions part. Clients are very easy to contribute to, and our goal is to continue making it super easy for you to contribute, to automate all the boring parts of client generation, and to release clients very often without breaking backwards compatibility. So yeah, that's in general of what we have been doing for clients and what is the future for it. And we would love to see if there are any clients that you feel should be there that aren't. Please feel free to let us know in the chat or open an issue, and we can move to the Q&A section.
Thanks, Vacha. Community, do we have any questions or feedback? I'd love to hear if anyone's considering any other clients that would be necessary or a nice to have.
I'd be curious as to what languages people are using in their clients today. Maybe if you're currently using OpenSearch with an application, what the language is. Maybe if you're willing to share the language in a chat, just to get a poll of what kinds of stuff people are using out in the wild.
Nate Boot here. I know I personally make use of the Ruby client all the time, but it works very well. Yeah, go ahead and type your question in the chat if you have one, or feel free to introduce yourself and speak up.
Hello, yeah, I'm Max. I work on the .NET client. And one thing that came up quite recently actually is migrating from Elasticsearch to OpenSearch. Is there any sort of project-wide guidance on that? Because I mean, generally it should just work, but it's not quite an answer that people are looking for. Like, is there other plans for like backwards compatibility testing, or even just having like compatibility metrics for with Elasticsearch, having that clearly listed?
So from what I've seen, you can actually do it via creating snapshots. I don't think we have any documentation on our website proper specifically about migrating, but if you do a quick search out there on the internet, there's a couple of really good blog articles that have been written about taking snapshots of your Elastic cluster and then restoring them using your open cluster. And I think that's generally the most accepted way to do it. I'm happy to be proven wrong there, but I've not tested the process personally, but the stories that I do here are with snapshots. If that helps.
Okay, thank you. I meant more in terms of from application perspective. So when somebody has an application against Elasticsearch and they're looking to migrate to OpenSearch, and it's the questions that I've encountered is the cost of migrating the client from Elasticsearch to OpenSearch. So just the client side, but also rolling upgrades of the cluster.
Yeah, if you're relying on some kind of CMS or some kind of code that's proprietary to your system, there, I hate to say it, there's probably going to need to be some of that rebuilt in case some of the APIs have changed. I don't know what's specifically different between their API and ours ever since we diverged at 2.0.
Yeah. No, I meant specifically from the last compatible version, so 7.13 or something.
So the Elasticsearch sort of client library interface has matched the OpenSearch client library interface pre-fork. The one difference is that if anyone was using XPack security tools or some of the other XPack features, those specific methods would have to be redrafted because the way that security was implemented in OpenSearch with their security plugin doesn't use the exact same methods. But for the most part, you should be able to simply switch out the client library. And in some cases, you may even be able to use the same client library if it doesn't have a version check on it. So overall, there's a really high compatibility level, and I think the best bet is to test it. And then if there are problems, to see if client upgrade is necessary. And if there is specific client and a specific language issues, it'd be great to bring those up in the relevant language client GitHub repo, and we can start looking at those as issues and bugs.
Okay, thank you.
I put a couple of links in the chat that might be helpful. Our partner Eliatra is doing a blog series. They've been doing a blog series on migration from there over to OpenSearch. So they have some good resources on their site as well. And then we have a previous blog released in 2020, in 21, moving from open source over to the Elasticsearch, or I'm sorry, to OpenSearch. So both of those links are in there. Hopefully those are helpful.
Thank you. I'll have a look.
Any other questions while we're on the client discussion?
Hello, can I be heard?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah. Hi, I'm new to OpenSearch. We have a small need and I'm working on it. Like when there are some issues I'm posting on the forums, Like I think one or two you guys are replying sometimes, and sometimes some are not replied. Is there a way to bring attention to something? Like maybe you already know and you didn't get a chance to look at it. Some of them I no answer, or I'm new to the question on the forum.
No
Like,
worries.
forum
That-
posts.
You're speaking my language here, my friend. This is Chris Friedan. I'm the community manager on the forum. So if something's getting a little old, you know what? Go ahead and feel free to tag me in a comment underneath. My handle on there is just Chris with a K. So KRIS. Go ahead and tag me on there, and I'll do what I can to rally the team and get someone out there to answer you.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for bringing that up. We are working on some automation to let us know when things go unanswered, but yeah, unfortunately, it does happen sometimes, and that's probably the best thing to do is to tag someone.
Any other questions? Otherwise, we'll go along with Ashwin. And all right, Ashwin, if you want to share, and the floor is yours.
Thanks, Chris. Let me know once you can see my screen.
Perfect.
Crisp and clear.
All right. Let's get this away. So hey guys, I'm Ashwin. I'm working on the OpenSearch dashboards team, and primarily I've been working on the drag and drop experience for creating visualizations for the past few months. So what I'll be walking you guys through here is the initial experimental release of drag and drop, which came out in 2.2, and kind of what we have right now. What is it? Why do we need it, etc. So quickly, what is it? So it's just a new way we're trying to introduce to create visualizations in OpenSearch dashboards. It's a way by which you can just see the fields you have. You don't have to pre-select a data source. You can just drag and drop the ones you want, and you can see a visualization almost immediately. And you can also change the visualization type. You can reorder the fields that you're aggregating on, change the aggregations, set some styles, a bunch of features that you would expect from a typical drag and drop experience in visualization creations. So, like I said, this is an experimental initial release. It's actually turned off by default, but I'll come to that next section. So firstly, why do we need this? If you've used the visualization tool on dashboards today, you'd see how it's not very intuitive, especially for a person who's coming into this for the first time. So we kind of want to make it easier to explore the data and also create visualizations to make that much easier, and also kind of reduce the number of navigations you have to do between discovery to kind of see what you have in the data to visualize to dashboards and back, to kind of avoid that back and forth. So that's why we needed it. And what we have today is we have in 2.2, we've released only the metric visualizations. So you don't really have bar, line, the other ones, they're coming out soon. But we've started off with the metric because it was the easiest to port over from visualizations. And it helped us build a framework underneath in a way that was foundationally useful for extending to other visualization types as well. So, and it has all the basic features that you'd expect, but we do plan on introducing other more advanced features, such as being able to drag a field directly onto the workspace to immediately visualize that data, and also to directly add a visualization from the drag and drop experience directly onto the dashboard without having to go to the dashboard itself. And more features like that are coming through in the future releases, but for now we have just the basic framework set up with the metric visualization, and it's also turned off by default. So if you want to play around with it, there are two places you can do that. One is on the Playgrounds website, and the second one is by actually downloading it and setting the YAML config flag for Wizard to enabled. So this Wizard enabled :true should turn it on for you, and the plugin should be enabled. But it's in by default in the core minimum distribution as well. So with that being said, let me quickly move over to a demo. I'm going to use my local instance just because this has edit capabilities. But in Playgrounds, you don't have edit, but you can still play around with the visualization type. So how do you get there? Right now, it's kept under an experimental option under Create Visualizations. So if you go here down below, it's called Wizard. This is not the final name. It is, while it's an experimental, we're going with this name, but it will probably have a new name when it comes out of experimental. So if you click on that, you are taken to a screen where, like I showed in the screen cap earlier, you can just drag and drop a field and immediately see the response Here, yeah. So what are some of the things you can do? It by default takes the an aggregation type of all the allowed aggregation types for a particular field type, and then picks the first one. It's as simple as that. Or we may have a more fancy way of doing that in future, but for now, that's just what we've taken. You can also edit it, and you can change the field to appropriate field. You can change the name, $test, and immediately reflects over there. Another thing you can do is, like I said, I can take that value, and then I can also, let's say, split groups. So that also works. And I can also reorder. Some of the other things you can do right now with the metric visualization, all of these features again come over from the existing Visualize app. So that's why you'll see these settings are almost identical. But this is to say we're not looking for feature parity. It's just that here we were able to achieve it. We may just put over a subset of this for the other charting types, depending on community feedback again. But yeah, this is a general approach we're taking to add visualizations for now. So those are the settings. And then finally, I can just clear this to make it a little useful. And then I'll just save that and call this. Yes. So now it's saved. And you can go over to the dashboards. And let's just go to an example dashboard. This is one I've created previously. Again, this can be added to any existing dashboard as well. It does not have the same saved object structure that the existing visualizations have. So you can't really edit existing metric visualizations using this editor. And neither can you port them over from the existing metric visualizations over to this. That's something we are looking into for the future. But for now, these are a separate type of visualizations altogether. So for example, I'll have to click on edit and then add. And then if I search for test over here, it shows up as a different type. You can see actually it's a different type. It's not a visualization or a saved search, it's a wizard. So that's kind of how we separated concerns for now. But as you can see, it shows up here immediately. And again, if you go here and say edit, it does take you back to the same editing experience. So that's some of the main features that I wanted to call out. The other thing was how you can enable this. Because it's an experimental, under stack management, we do have an experimental flag down below which says visualize enable labs. So if you do turn this off and then save it, and then go back to dashboards, you should see this, that it's an experimental visualization. And again, if you go over to the Visualize app and say create visualization, that no longer shows up. Same thing goes for controls because they both share the same flag. So this is another level of enabling and disabling that you have for the wizard. And finally, the last thing I want to show off was dark mode. Turn on dark mode and save changes. Oops. So for a refresh my page. Yeah. So it's completely compatible with dark mode for now. So yep, that's pretty much what I wanted to show you. I'm sorry if I went through this very fast, but I want to leave enough time for question and answers that some guys may have. So
this is awesome. I think Ryan had a question. Do these wizards types export well as indeed JSON objects?
Yes, so they're identical. They're almost identical the way visualization saved objects are created today, and you can actually see that in the saved object management tab. So if I go to saved objects, and if I search for test viz, yeah, so you can see that. Oops, not that. Sorry. And if I inspect it, you can see it's almost the same structure. It's just a way of rearrange some of the parameters that makes more sense for us over here, which is why porting over the existing visualization over to this may be an option in the future. But for now, it's just it like to answer your question, Ryan, it does export well.
This is great, Ashwin. So just one quick feedback here. So you showed Wizard. This is currently what we call this, or drag and drop as a visualization type, along with other visualization type. So wondering if when you save it as an object, so let's say now it's called Wizard. Are you thinking later on, user can, how does a user know which chart type they're building under Wizard?
That's a good question. So right now that is stored under the style state. You can see here as a type metric. So that's where we store the property of which chart type you're using.
Right.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And this is identical to the way visualizations do today too. Right. They also store under a similar property under, I think it's editor JSON is the field.
Right.
Yeah, in fact, if you look at the same object between the existing visualizations and this, you'll see a lot of similarities. In fact, some of these properties are actually just copied over from the existing metric visualization and just remapped to what makes sense for us. Right.
And under visualize library, right now, the traditional visualization, they have a chart type where they show line bar or a specific chart type. And I'm assuming for drag and drop, we're just gonna show drag and drop. We're not gonna say drag and drop / line or drag and drop something chart type.
That's actually a good place for feedback. Actually, like we haven't, since we don't have more than one chart type right now, when we implement the next ones, we will look and see which makes sense over there. Most likely we will show the chart type because that is what is useful to the user.
Yeah,
exactly how it's
they'll be able to tell, right?
Exactly, yeah. So there's be some way they can tell that. So that's definitely in the works. Exactly how it will be shown and how you'll differentiate between existing line and bar versus the drag and drop ones will be something we'll have to take a look at. But again, feedback is definitely appreciated there.
Yeah. Otherwise, awesome work. Thank you, Ashwin.
Thanks.
I think Cole had a question in the chat as well. Can a user type and find the field name, or is it interacting with fields only drag and drop?
Oh no, so yeah, let me quickly show that as well. So drag and drop is not the only way by which you can create add visualizations. So for example, you can just click on the plus icon here, and the old way you can just click on the aggregation type and then select the field that supports that aggregation type. So as you can see, that works too. Again, because it's a long list sometimes and you want to filter through them quickly, you can just search for them. So you can go like category and then quickly everything that matches that quickly shows up.
Fantastic.
Awesome. Any other questions? I just want to call out that one of the main things we're looking forward to from this 2.2 release is for you guys to play around with it and create issues for things that you see that aren't working as expected, or the features you would like to see that we aren't prioritizing right now. There's a link up top right here that takes you to the GitHub issues page where you can open an issue for this experience right away.
Ryan had a question as well. Will the engine behind this or similar be brought to the observability panels?
That's a good question. I'm not entirely sure. One thing we're definitely looking forward to is to have the same user experience. So Bright, our UX engineer on this, is definitely using the same mockups for observability and for this experience. So at least on the UI side of it, it's going to look very identical. Under the hood, it's the technicalities prevent us from being 1:1. But we are in direct talks with the observability team to see how we can map a lot of these features over so that we don't duplicate a lot of the work.
Yeah, I can speak for the UI portion. We're trying to make the observability visualization and Events Explorer as similar to the core experience here as possible. So eventually there will be one experience for drag and drop as well as for observability.
Thank you, Ashwin. That was fantastic. I think everyone really enjoyed seeing that.
Thanks, Chris.
Let's go ahead and open up to Q&A. See if anyone has questions for the community. We'll do our best to answer them here. And if we don't answer them here, I'd welcome you to open a question in the forum. Any questions for everyone?
I'd be curious if anyone has any feature requests for the language clients or things that you'd like to see happening differently in the landscape.
We have a quiet group today. That's okay. To follow up on William's question, we always welcome those. And if you ever have those, bring them up in the GitHub repositories. Open something on the forum, and one of us will get out there to receive this feedback and follow up with you. All right, we'll call it here. Remember, we have social media channels out there. We've added YouTube. This recording will also be put out on our YouTube channel within the next few days. Feel free to follow us on any of these. And we have the next meeting on September 30th at 8 a.m. Pacific, and we hope to see you all there. So thanks for showing up today. We really appreciate it, and we'll see you next time.